Everybody buys in? Good enough. Now we use standards in photography of various kinds. The one that we're primarily or mostly connected with is the unit of time. Right? Because of something or another that I think goes something like this. H equals what? It used to be, I think this is correct, but I may be wrong. This used to be, well, this here is exposure. Is equal to what? Right? So when we say you make a photograph, I don't care digital or analog or something like that, it really doesn't matter. The sensor or the film gets a certain amount of energy, and that is exposure. That is made up of two factors. Okay? The amount of light that falls on it, and the length of time it's allowed to act on it. This you control with ambient light, you control with the aperture, right? What else? Filters. Anyway, this you control on the lens, and this you control on the camera. It's your exposure time. Okay? I think in other terms that are used, or letters that are used to describe this, but I think this is the French method. They knew things best. Or the Système International. So anyway, we would like exposure to be some particular value because it gives us good results. Right? If the exposure is too great, in that case, things are blown out. And if it's not enough, everything is dark and you can't see it. So we want exposure to be right. Now, one of the ways to think about exposure is to think about this as a container that you're going to fill with water. Okay. However, I'm not very good at this. So there it is. And water can drip in here. Right? A criterion of good exposure would be to fill this cup to the brim every time. Okay. If the exposure is too great, in that case, you have some that leaks out. If it's too little, you haven't achieved proper exposure. So you can control that level two ways. You can open up the faucet far and let a lot of water run in for a short time. Or you can increase the time and get the water to just drip in a little bit at a time. That's what you do in oil. So because of this, it would be a good idea, assuming that we can control this. That's not an accurate assumption either. But assuming we can control this, it would be a good idea to be able to control time. And that is where we control the exposure time. In an automatic world, in that case, this would be an aperture priority system. You choose your aperture, and you let the camera decide the exposure time. Okay. But I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about whether the camera is delivering the kind of time that we presume it is. Now we take it kind of for granted when you set the camera shutter speed to 1 second, 10 seconds, 1/10 of a second, whatever. But that's what you're getting. But are you getting that? Now you might say, well, my pictures come out good. Everything must be working fine. But because we're getting introduced to a way of thinking in a variety of projects that are coming up, what we're going to do is project number 1 is to find out if the camera, in fact, is delivering the kind of exposure times that we are expecting it to deliver. We're not going to worry about the aperture, but even that is variable. The problem is there's so many automatic features in cameras today that even if the aperture doesn't stop, and if you're running in automatic mode, if the aperture doesn't go to where it's supposed to, well, the metering system in the camera might make an adjustment for that and change your shutter speed a little bit. Maybe. I'm assuming we're working in a more rudimentary world and not using automatic. So all that is kind of besides the point. The thing is, we realize this is important. So how do we test the camera for exposure time? Well, first of all, we have to find a standard. Okay, a standard of measurement against which we're going to compare the camera performance. Standards have a characteristic to them, a very important one, and that is the standards are not questioned. You can't go around saying, you know, if you have the platinum bar and it's got 2 scratches on it, and we say, well, that the distance between those 2 is a meter. You can't go around saying, well, I don't think that's a meter. I think that's a little longer. That's a little shorter. A standard is a standard. Now, it's possible that society at some point or another says that distance isn't the right distance for a meter. We're going to change that. But everybody has to agree to that. Until such time, standards are standards. Unquestionable. Because if you question standards, I mean, what would be the point of measuring anything with them, right? So, once you have a standard, in that case, you can use that standard to make measurements. In our case, we're going to take a look at least 3 standards that we're going to use to understand something about the performance of your camera shutters, whichever they are. I'll be the first to admit that in today's cameras, the level of accuracy and performance of the shutters is excellent. However, we're not going to let that deter us from the task at hand, because the experience is more important than the results, so to speak. So you can say that, well, if my pictures are all coming out right, well, why do I need to do anything? Well, you don't. You only need to do it if you're interested in how to do it. And that's what we're interested in. So there are fairly sophisticated, or more than fairly, there are sophisticated ways in which the performance of a camera shutter can be evaluated. Typically, would be used by camera manufacturers in their factory when their shutters are made to see if the shutters are up to par, so they can sell them. However, they tend to be, essentially they're black boxes. You put a camera in, you operate it, out comes the results. So, as I said before, they're PhD boxes. Push here, done. That's what you don't want to be. You want to be somebody who knows how things are happening. So we're going to forego the sophisticated solutions